So this is my Black & Decker edger trimmer weed whacker. I use weed whacker. It's the name that I traditionally use for this tool. It's electric, so I have to plug in a cord right there. This is something that needs a little bit of a maintenance, and it's not much maintenance needed other than to make sure that you try to brush off any debris after usage, and to also make sure that the spool is updated prior to each use. So let me show you how to replace the spool. And I've had this one for a few years. It has an adjustable handle, and it also has a guard in the event that you want to use it like a lawnmower. You can actually place this piece into the guard, and it has 4 wheels, and you can roll it that way. I used it at first, but I found that it's not very convenient in a sense that it sort of slows you down, so it's best to just use it as is. But I do want to show you guys how to replace the spool. So you're going to make sure, first of all, that your unit is unplugged, that it's never plugged in before you try to mess with any of the components to do any types of repairs. And since it's not plugged in at all, you're going to turn it over. And this is a little bit dirty, a little bit embarrassing. So first you want to clean this off if you can. You want to clean off any of the debris here. But we'll come back to that in a little bit. But first, to take the spool off, you're going to squeeze these sides right here. Okay, there's 2 of them. There's one there and one there. And it also has some information. It tells you about what line to use on the outside. And it tells you basically to make sure that you note that it's an auto fed. It automatically feeds itself. So some of the other ones, I had an older one where you had to tap it on the ground, tap it on the ground to get the spool to feed out. But this one is an automatic, so you don't have to worry about that. So you can just continually keep working, which is great. So you want to make sure you take care of your tools as much as you can. But anyway, to take it out, this black part does not come off. You're literally taking out the orange part. So we squeezed out that part there, and there is your spool. And it came with one, I think 2 spools actually, a replacement thread, which is this white here. And I'm not really impressed with it. It works, but it doesn't last long, and I was always constantly having to replace them. So I was buying them already pre-wound like this one. I think I was getting like a pack of 6 at a time, and I was going through them so quickly. So I said, let me try to see if I can thread my own. And I was very successful. So what I did was I actually changed the type of line that I'm using in here, which is more durable than the other one. So let me tell you a little bit about that. Okay, so this is what makes this type of line that I'm using a little bit better than the other. You can see my hand there, and you can probably slightly see that it's more square instead of just a plain circular line. That Black & Decker regular white line is just circular. It doesn't have any grooves to make it more of a square shape. And so this square shape is what makes it more industrialized and makes it cut a little bit better. This is what I like to thread my spools. So let me show you how to go ahead and thread a spool. The one thing that I would point out is if you have old spools is to pay attention to how they're made. So this one has a little arrow going this way, and on the back side it doesn't have any arrow. So this is your front. So when you put it into your machine, the base of the machine would be here, and this would be the front. So you want to pay attention to that. So when you're getting ready to thread, you want to make sure you follow that arrow going around, okay? So the first thing you have to do with threading is to basically turn your spool over, and then you see these grooves in here. You want to try to connect your spool into the groove, because that is what's going to hold it so it doesn't unwound towards the end. So what I normally try to do is just stick it in to here, and then I leave a little bit out like that, and then I take my thumb and then I wrap my thread around, and then noting I would go this way, but no, since the arrow's going that way, we're going to immediately take our thread this way. And the key is to make it as tight as possible and to the edge as possible. So As you can see, I'm taking my pointing finger with my right hand. I'm a lefty, by the way. My right hand, and I use my left thumb to help gauge it, and also I use my right thumb to help gauge it too. So my pointing finger is pushing, my left thumb, my pointing finger in my right hand is pushing, my right thumb is actually sort of holding the spot, and my left one is the guide. So now that we've gotten close to the actual spot we started, you want to put the thread underneath there and keep pushing up. You want to hold this as tight as you can and keep going. So we're going to keep going and keep going, and then every now and then take your pointing finger and just sort of smooth it up. Make sure you do not lose grip with this left hand, and if you're a righty you would use the opposite hand, but again I'm a lefty, and you see how I almost lost it there, but you want to keep going and go as slow as you need to. I've done quite a few of these now, so I can go a little bit faster but not too fast, because oftentimes you will have to rewind them if you go too fast. And again, you want it to look like a machine has wound this, okay? And then sometimes your thread is going to start to pull up. I took some of the thread out the actual thing, so you're just going to pull it and hold it tight. So hold it and keep going. And so this is how it's looking. Again, you're going to use your finger to push. And every now and then you want to make sure it's really tight. So you just take your thumb and push it up really tight, because there was a little gap from where we started right here. So I just wanted to make sure that that gap has been closed out. So and I usually do 3 to 4 rows. You'll look at the thickness of your thread once you've gotten to 3 rows, and you don't want it to go over these little clip areas, because it'll be too thick. So if you can save an old gauge that you originally had, or have one that you've already round to the same as the original, that can be your like reference point, and also it can teach you for the next go around in the event that you forget. Okay, so I'm going to keep winding this, and then I'm going to come back once we get closer to row 3. But I did want to show you how to exchange to the next row first. Again, you want to keep making sure that your rows are really, really tight. This is bad on your fingernail polish. So okay, so there you have it. That's pretty much one full complete row, as you can see. So now, instead of us going up to the top, we're going to leave this row at the bottom, okay? We're going to leave it at the bottom, and we're going to let it start there, and then it'll eventually work its way up to the top. So you're going to go like a spool, up, down, up, down, up, down. You're not going to just go up and down. So remember, once you finish one row, stay at that bottom and start that row thick down there, okay? And let me show you. And then we're going to continue on from there. And as you can see, this is row 2, and I need to fix my spool. Try not to let any kinks get into your spool, because this can cause it to jam, okay? So try to keep your spool nice and even and nice and free flowing. Hopefully that won't be a problem later on, but we're going to keep working with it. Okay, so like I said, let me come back. You can see that really well now that we're on row 2, and I'm going to keep going till I get to row 3, and then I'll show you how to finish it off at the end. So we've wound 3 rows now, and it's time to cut. So when you're getting ready to finish up your last row, pay attention to the top, because you don't want to miss the area for the ending of the new spool that you're just finished. So this is where you begun, and this is where you're going to end. At this point, you're holding it still very tight because you want to leave everything very taut. You don't want any gaps, holes, or loops in here because this will cause jamming if there is. So now that we have it, it literally looks like a machine has wound this around. And you're going to leave about maybe 2.5 inches of thread. And then I just use some nail clippers. And I just cut it off like that. And now you're going to look up at the top. And you're literally going to take your spool at the top and you're going to push it to this thread here. Okay, so now that I've shown you guys how to basically wind the spool, this is what I want to show you is how to put it back in. So I have this one here that's still good. It's not ready to be replaced here. So literally what you're going to do is you're going to find the hole and you're going to stick your spool in there. You want to hold your spool tight. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one out. You want to hold this part tight, okay? You want to hold that tight. And then you're going to literally take it in there when you have your new spool and you're going to put it into that hole. Much easier if you're not holding a camera like I am. And you're going to put it in there. Next, you're going to look for these holes on the side. Okay, you're going to look for the holes on the side where the orange piece connects in there to lock. And then you're going to look for these little hooks on your spool where they connect into the orange pieces because that is what's going to wrap around it to make sure it's locked. But first you're going to put it in the middle and then you're going to pull out some of your line. Okay, you're going to pull out some of your line, hold your line tight, and make sure that the orange pieces can connect. And we heard a little click. So we're going to leave that like that. And then you're going to take the orange piece, make sure you have both of those sides sort of lined up like that. Squeeze in gently, and then you're going to wait till you hear a click. Push. There it is. Pull your line slightly, and when you're ready, you want to do your first cut on something that's not too close to you because this line is going to cut off at the right length that it needs. So it's going to probably fly a little bit, so it may cut off about right here and you may have 2 inches of waste. And that's it. That's how you replace your electric or your battery powered trimmer. Quick note, side note on cleaning your machine after each usage. To get any of the gunk, I actually just use a regular little cheap garden shovel, and that really helps to get all this debris off. And this is something you want to do because this is taking away the depth of your shield, so you want to try to clean that off. It's easier when it's wet, so after each usage, sweep your machine and just scrape out here, and then you're good to go for the next unit. And in the end of the season, maybe polish and oil up your tool before storage, and that'll make it last even longer. And make sure that these holes here stay clean of debris. You don't want them to be clogged, so every now and then just double check, maybe take a toothpick or a pick, something small, and clean those out. So that's another way to care for your machine. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Till next video, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Bye now.